Welcome back. Excuse me. Welcome back to Carl's Conversations. Sorry about that. Got a little something in my throat. We are back with the Black Excellence Showcase. And as you see, there's someone on the other side of the screen a little better looking than me. And I always like when somebody on the screen is better looking than me. The numbers seem to do a little better when somebody's better looking than me on the other side of the screen. We have none other than Elder Timothy A. Wright Jr., and he is a special person. And in just a few minutes, you're going to see how special. Now, there are a list of accolades that I give him, and all of them are true. But there's one in particular that I'm going to start with in this interview because I really, really want him to start there. Now, I list him as a preacher, and Lord knows he's a preacher par excellence. He's a public school educator. He's an author. We're going to talk about this brand new book. I really want to talk about that. He's a musician, and much of it was self-taught. He's a mentor. He's a funeral director. And last but not least, he's a creative thinker. And I think we're going to start talking about that creative thinker part first, because if you know anything about the way that this brother thinks, it is just amazing. And it didn't just start. I have been intimately involved in his life since he was a teenager, and I was really blown out of the water with the way that he thinks. Even then, I didn't tell him then; I would just listen. But I was blown out of the water with his expressions even then, and his multifaceted talent. He was so talented in many ways, and very willing to work in the many areas. You know, you see a lot of people, especially young people, who have a lot of talent but not willing to use it. He's always been very grounded, very willing to work, and very humble. I've always appreciated that about him. And so I'm going to introduce to some of y'all and present to others. But he's been on this platform before several times. I've called on him, and the vast majority of the time he said yes. So welcome, Elder Timothy Wright Jr. God bless you, brother. Thank you so much for saying yes to the invitation.
Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here.
And listen, I see you're in the office back there, and you was telling me just before we came on, he's turning it into a studio. So the next time he's on, we will be able to see exactly what's going on. Now, listen, for the audience, we're live right now on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it. So, however you are joining us, please be ready and willing to invite your family and friends. Now, out of all the things you are, Elder Wright, I want to start with this piece about creative thinking. And I do not want you to be modest. This is not the time for you to be modest. And for those of you who don't know, I created this Black Excellence Showcase because I do believe that there are so many examples of Black excellence in our community. I don't think it can be contained to just Black History Month. This series started actually on a different platform as the Black Business Showcase just in the month of February during Black History Month. But at the beginning of the current administration, there were some things going on in the atmosphere that developed that I thought it was very necessary that we bring exposure to the many, many examples of not only Black excellence, but excellence in general in the Black community. And so here we are on Carl's Conversations with the Black Excellence Showcase. And Elder Wright, I want to talk about your creative thinking. Now, I don't think I'm really exaggerating at all when I say you are an out of the box thinker. Would you agree?
Well, for tonight, you can just call me Tim. Like that's all I am tonight. But I think back to it's funny. A lot of the stuff that you said, you're going to be surprised when some of these videos roll out because you have some direct shout outs in what I'm doing, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But if I were to sum up the way that I think, I told somebody that I've been used to having a big head that carries a lot of heavy thoughts, but they don't really seem that heavy to me. It's just things that I do, it's things that I say. And when I worked at the funeral home in high school, the owner of the funeral home, Councilman Riddick, they called me Timmy there. Said, Timmy, how you learn how to do so much? How you learn how to do so much? I just push buttons and see what happens. You ever been popped across your face? So I like to try things. I have a way of thinking that was really shaped a lot by, classes that I took in college, especially at ODU. My philosophy classes really shaped a lot of my ethos and how I view things. And then, of course, I've always been curious, and that curiosity always led me to challenge whatever anybody says, not to take it at face value. So I would think of myself as less creative and more curious, more curious.
Well, let me ask you this: how much did your environment at home, not only by your parents and your siblings, but by the environment that they created, your intimate environment, maybe your uncles and aunts, the people that your parents allowed in your formative years, how did that shape the way that you think and your quote unquote curiosity?
They were very patient with me because I've thought so different. Like my mother will tell the story of how when I was younger, one of the first books I wrote and illustrated, it was about, living on a planet called Jupiter, Joopter, and they ate peanut butter and jelly sandwiches inside out. So I've just always had an abstract way of looking at things, um, and to the chagrin of many, but I am that I am. Coming up with parents that are educators, I honestly never thought I would be a teacher. I went to college to be a business major, but I failed calculus. Don't tell anybody. And that's ultimately how I became a teacher because I passed pre-calculus. Well, the professor passed me. I ain't really passed. And if my sister's watching, I asked her for help to tutor me. And of course, it was the day before the final exam, and she hung up on me. But I'll never let that go. But coming up, the child of educators, the grandson of an educator, nephew of an educator, great nephew, like all my parents' friends, even the ones in church, they seemed like they were educators. It just nurtured curiosity. Whereas some people would tell you to stop asking questions or you're talking too much. That's not how I grew up. I was always encouraged to talk. So I was encouraged to ask, to inquiry and discovery. So that's
So,
that.
and that's amazing. Did that inform you the way that you think as a musician, the way that you think now as a public school educator, even the way that you think as a preacher? Now, I'm asking questions that I kind of know, but the audience doesn't know. So I want you to answer
Yeah.
them for the audience.
Well, teaching, church, all of it, servant leadership, and there's always the thought of my life doesn't necessarily just belong to me. It's my gift to the world. It's shared. So I'm always doing for someone, in some regard. But with that being said, it there's a humility that comes with growing up that way. There's a desire to want to help. I grew up hearing, being what is it? Being, doing, knowing, being, doing, knowing, whatever my father says. Like you just always look for ways to fill in the gap, stand in the gap. And sometimes it just takes creativity in doing it. And then there's always like the challenge of either someone saying that you can't do something or something that looks like it can't be done. Like when we start talking about my project, you wouldn't you would look at it and think like how, but you just figure it out. And that's the thing I think that gives a sense of accomplishment when you just figure something out. And then that in turn spills over into what I do with work. I want to help the kids figure it out. I just don't really My parents never took themselves that serious. I really don't. Like you could rattle off like a whole list of things that I've done. That's all like so what to me. Especially the funeral service piece. I see how quickly life can be here and gone. That doesn't matter. It's just stuff I did. So some people look at it as a cool resume. I just look at it as this is a guy that is random and just does ridiculous things. So I don't know if that answers the question.
No, it really does. Well, this informs why you're such a creative thinker. You're telling the story, whether you know it or not.
Okay.
Now, even as a musician, my first understanding of your musical talent was as a drummer. And then the next thing I know, I'm not sure whether it was out of your own will or out of necessity for your father planting the church, and we needed a musician. Then
No.
next thing I know, it was the keyboard and the organ, and I was just amazed at where you started. Then you started growing, and look at you now. I want to talk about that piece because all of this, to me, is really connected to your ability to be an out of the box thinker, and I guess, of
Yeah.
course, an out of the box doer. When it comes to your musical prowess, how much of that is connected to your creative thinking?
Well, music as far as keyboards, well, in the words of your late buddy that you saw at the restaurant, James Brown, everything is a drum. Like I'm like right now, this is me chasing a rabbit, as your brother would say. I am into Latin dance. I love it so much. I go to lessons like 3, 4 days a week. It's become like a part-time job, but I enjoy it. And it's challenging. And I think that's what it comes down to with the creative piece. I enjoy the challenge because you're not going to master me. I'm going to master it. Uh, I may be slow, like I definitely stand in the back, you know. And when they want to record the group, I'd be like, well, let me get my camera. I'm like, I don't even. Yeah. But I said all that to say your body is an instrument. It's just percussion, all of it. So what you see like with church, I actually was playing before that. I was picking at it. Um, what happened, I grew up around a musical family, not musical in the sense of like everybody's like a prodigy type thing, but everybody had their instrument. Like my elder sister played trombone and sang. My little big sister or big little sister, whichever way you want to call it, she plays the flute and like woodwind. I played cello, but I would pick around on the piano. And the late Tommy Woodley, Thomas Vasco Woodley, he's the one that taught me my first song that was like a real song. Then he taught me one more song. And from everything that I know, it came from that. Then there are some other musicians that came along that told me some things, like, and I don't mind calling names, Bishop Ezekiel Williams, when he was down at New Jerusalem, he would just let me stand over him and record. I'm nowhere near where he is, but he gave me some foundation. Nathan Rooks, he really gave me a strong intro to how to approach the organ, but Bishop Williams really made it seem a lot more approachable. Like, oh, it's just a machine, it's just like typing. And of course, he can type really fast. I can't type. Who else? Oh, and even Pastor Cedric Rowson. We were a little closer when I was younger, and he's big time pastor now. He's doing a great work over at his church. But he deposited the thought that I could write songs. I never thought about me being able to write a song. Oh no, Tim, you can do it, man. You can do it, man. You can just put it down the thoughts, and it'll come together. And I started writing music. I haven't recorded any of it, but hopefully that'll change in the near future. But I was just around encouraging people. Of course, there were some crabs along the way, or some people that didn't want to share their gift or whatever. But I choose to focus on the good, and I am a sum of all of those fingerprints. So it's not just me. I'm not some self-taught something. I learned from great people.
Now, this is a question that I guess is kind of selfish because I'm a writer myself.
Hmm.
In your writing process, especially when it comes to writing songs, and I want to let everybody know if you ever visit Victorious Living Ministries Church of God in Christ in Norfolk, Virginia, you will hear a song that welcomes you if you're a first time visitor. That song is so unique.
Hold on, tell the full story. There's co-authorship, and
He says that, but
the co-authorship is from Carl Armstrong.
he wrote the
Woo!
song.
That's his part.
He wrote the song. I may have had a little teeny part in it, but
Woo!
he wrote the song. Now, I'm gonna start with that particular song.
Mm-hmm.
In your process of writing songs, how does that work? What does that process look like?
Man. Well, first off, I think it all comes down to me being a conscientious objector. Like, I know I grew up in church, but in my opinion, there's a whole lot of gospel music. So I don't write a whole lot of that. I just write what I feel and what I experience. For that welcome song, I just know that there used to be a real corny welcome song that used to be sung at the church, and I just thought it sucked. So I was like, let's do something different. So I wrote it. And like with the mission, we had the words, y'all had the mission statement. So it's just like, let's make something. But sometimes I'm inspired by sounds that I hear. There's like one song I wrote that really was just how water dripped out of the shower, hearing it in the pipes, and hearing paper in a copy machine. That turned into a song. Other songs are just inspired by things I experienced, felt. So just different things can spark the inspiration. But one thing I can say, it does no good when it stays up here. So that's essentially like you said earlier on, I'm turning something into a studio. Like I was recording videos for my YouTube channel sitting in my car and on a bus. Like you have more than enough to start somewhere. And a lot of times we sit back waiting for the stars to align or thinking that you need one more piece. That's one thing, scripture says, just take your cloak and your stick, your walking stick, and it'll be provided for you as you go along the way. And that's one thing I'm going to be turning 40, June 12th, 2027, should the Lord say the same. And I want to live life in the fullest in this 40th year, going to June 12th. I'm going after things that I always said I would do, that I didn't do. It's just time to make it happen. I went on a tangent, but
No, this is great because when I interview people, I often say nobody can tell your story like you. And many times we think that we don't have enough. Matter of fact, that was one of my favorite sermons that I've preached. The not enough. One of the best speeches I think that I've given. The not enough, and probably my downfall in life. The not enough,
hmm
right? And so many times, like you just said, we have so much in us. All we have to do is just put that first foot forward. I think we get caught up in our minds what we're trying to do doesn't look like what we've seen.
hmm
But what we don't realize is the world doesn't need what we've already seen. They need what we have. And one thing I credit your father on, that's Pastor Tmothy Wright. I credit him on being a tremendous encourager to me and to many others. No, be who you are and bring what God gave you to the table
hmm
because it is important. And I would imagine that type of encouragement has had an effect on you. And I'd like to talk about that if you don't mind.
Sure. Well, growing up, it was always ain't nobody but us. There's no big eyes, there's no little U's. Um, those were the words that I heard. And that foundation, and also like growing up in church where you just get a microphone shoved into your face, like go read the scripture or go do this, go do that. It just humanizes everybody. And why should you not go for what it is that you want to do? Because if it's nobody but us and they're a person and they did something, then why can't I do too? And then of course, like I'm sorry I got bit by the Undertaker bug. Once again, that is such a core tenet of who I am. I just see the brevity and finality of life. So why am I going to sit back and saying what I can and can't do, and then I wake up dead, and then I didn't do anything. Like, we are here to make this world better than how we found it. We're here not just for ourselves, but for our posterity. We are ancestors in the making right now. So there's no need to count yourself out. There's no need to look down on what it is that you do or think you don't have enough. There's nobody but us. And I've seen, I have a very morbid outlook, but unless, you're either going to get some gallons of fluid or going to a little heat and cremation or maybe pick the piece by a couple animals, we're all going to go out of here. So since I know that to be the case, I'm going to make the most of the time that I have. And what people think, this is one of the things that I learned from somebody. Some will, some won't. So what? So what? I'm not going to be moved by what people think, say. Their opinions are their business. I have to mind my business. They can mind theirs, and I just do what I do. Carl told me that, by the
Must have been a wise person that told you
way.
that.
Yeah, look at that. What's coming to America? Look at him. Ah!
Listen, I wanted to season the water with all of these things about you because I think that once we learn about you, it brings us to this point where we can talk about the book. Now that we know just a little bit about you, I
Mhm,
want to talk about this great work that you're doing. And it's amazing. I was wondering when I saw on social media, you had this great mention of this Naomi. I
mhm.
was saying to myself, what is he doing? But to be honest with you, I didn't want to ask you. I know I could have just picked up the phone and asked you, but I don't want to do that. I wanted to follow what you were doing and see if I could figure it out. So I want you to talk about the book, the project, your social media presence. What is it all about? And I want you to take your time. We're in no rush. So let's
Okay.
talk about the Naomi project.
All right. The Naomi Project, actually, it started out as The Measure. Uh, the Measure is like my YouTube channel. And I always felt like I had a lot of things to say. I didn't know if anybody want to listen to it, but I still want to say it. And I'm of the mind that there's always somebody out there that wants to hear something you got to say. So maybe around February, I decided, okay, I'm going to lock in and I'm going to have The Measure be my YouTube channel. However, there was a book that I was working on well before that. That one I'm not ready to talk about. It's coming. But round about late March, April, I just had this idea. You could write a book. And I keep talking about I could write a book. And I have all these wonderful things I could say, but I'm not saying them. So I just woke up in the morning and just started typing out some thoughts and feelings. And I was like, well, I can do this. Then I did it again. Then I did it again. And then I did it for like 35 days. It was like for 7 weeks, Monday through Friday. I just posted things. And those postings I organized into a book. So people are actively seeing me write a book in real time. They didn't know it. I kind of knew it, but I knew it was going to that point. But effectively, the Naomi framework, Naomi stands for Navigating Adulthood with Objectivity, Maturity, and Integrity. And over the course of the past few years, I just realized, and this isn't throwing anybody under the bus, for me too, adulting kind of sucks in some regard. But at the same time, I also learned that age doesn't equal being an adult. Just because you have some years doesn't make you an adult per se. And I was thinking, well, if adulthood was a three-legged stool, what would those three legs be? Objectivity, facts over feelings, maturity, being able to see things for what it really is and not being moved by it, and integrity, doing what you know to be the best thing to do. And that's how I put this book together. So all of it, is this is it's going to be available as a hardback. Um, and what I am doing, there's going to be a companion video for each week. So I'm in the process of finalizing those. But it's under the Right Way Press uh, publishing company. Yep, I got an LLC and did all the things, have address. So it is the Right Way Press Publishing company, and this is the first book of the imprint. I've already had a couple people asking, "Can I publish under you?" I don't care. Like, you got a book, but I'm excited. It's full color, and it just highlights, like, you know travels that I've, because I do a lot of international travel. That's me at the equator, and just pictures that I've taken, because that's why I said you have more than enough. And I was really encouraging one of my friends the other day. I was like, bro, like, you're a middle-aged father of young children. You do all kinds of things around the house, working on cars, being a dad, being a husband. And there are a lot of people out there that don't know, and they're trying to find their way. And you just do it. And that's the thing. We don't realize so much of our life is there for our our enrichment, not just, sharing a good word, but it can really, like, bless you as you are blessing the others just by being who you are. And, like, he was like, yeah, I like, you saw all the stuff I did in my house. Like, I hung the TV over the fireplace. I did the fireplace, and I hung some ceiling fans. I said, well, you should have had a camera on, because there are people that don't know how to do it and they want to see these things. So, like, we are getting away from the age of Hollywood and superstars. People just want to connect with real people and real stories and real sentiment. And like I said, in the book, I'll be sending the video. You have what it takes, but will you take what you have and do something with it? So that's essentially the framework. I'm very excited about that. It'll be a journal as well inside the book if you get the physical copy, but there also will be a digital copy where you could just kind of read and reflect. So something for everybody.
Well, it's amazing that you know what you just said. You have enough, and that people are getting away from Hollywood. They want to be in touch with real people. And this may sound like a silly question, but it's one that I want the audience to hear an answer from you. How do you know this? How do you have such a pulse on what people are desiring to see and hear?
Because I doom scroll like the rest of everybody else. I can't tell you the last time I sat down in front of a TV to watch a TV show. I follow cats. I love cat videos. Like, I never thought I'd be a cat person, but there are some really cool cats out there. Like Sponge Cake, you should look him up. They had the coolest outfits. Uh, I watched this guy, like, take a old beat up Mercedes that sat outside for like 30 years and restore it, and he didn't know what he was doing. He's just, like, figuring it out as he went along. It- Those are the things that inspire me. I also like things that make me smarter. Like, I watch Star Talk, or I watch historical videos, or I'll watch debates on, different concepts, political, economical. You have the whole wide world in the palm of your hand. We have access to information faster than that. Like, when I grew up, I mean, when you grew up, you didn't have internet at all. I mean, I'm just putting it out there. My internet had sound effects. So, like, we have access to so much, and there's something for everybody. And even, I mean, it all comes down to technology and how things are. I'm not going to get lost in, like, algorithms and all that kind of stuff, but it is known that I do Latin dance. Then I follow a few Latin dance accounts, then more of it gets shoved into me. So, I mean, it's the algorithm doing what it does best, but people just enjoy looking at interesting lives that don't require you to be some superstar. When everybody's super, nobody will be. And I think that's a super thing. I got that from The Incredibles. That wasn't me.
So amazing. So, what do you think we're headed with all this? With everybody having a camera and access to a worldwide audience, what does this look like, in your opinion, 10 years from now? And how will the average person who has so much to offer, how will we fit into it?
I think 10 years from now, the average person will still be average. I think that when you realize that you're not, then things will turn. Now, unfortunately, I am also moving the way that I'm moving because I'm seeing the trajectory of how things are headed. For instance, I work in the school system. The school system has given everybody Chromebooks. Step one. Now, school systems are buying licenses for online learning. Step two. So, methinks 10, 20, 30 years, school as we see it now ain't going to be school as it is right now in the future. So, what I'm going to do is sit here and wait for something to happen. Right now, I don't get paid to ring up all my groceries at Walmart. So, that's a long line and they don't care because all you're going to ring up your own groceries and pay more for them. You can go, I think it's out in California, they did like a test at Carl's Jr., which is Hardee's on the East Coast, and they had a fully automated system where the food was cooked by robots and people could place the order with a kiosk and they had a real cashier. Everybody opted to go into the line to place the order themselves. They didn't want to deal with the person. So the signs of the time are now, and that's just scratching the surface, bro. We're not even talking about economics, looking at the possibility of CBDCs. Um, there's so much that is happening right under us. So for me, this is my hedge against, the uncertainty of the future, and that is own the soil under your feet. And the late Miles Monroe said it best. I'm not quoting directly, but paraphrasing. A job is an opportunity that somebody gives to you, and if they give it, they can take it. I just think that people should look for more opportunities to be in control of their own opportunities versus waiting for somebody else to give it to them. And that's where I see it headed. More people waking up, and just as many people waking up and seeing that they missed the train. I just don't want to miss the train.
Well, I see that you're doing it with your publishing company, with the Naomi Project, even with the way that you're thinking about the way public education is heading, and your observation. You gave the example of Carl Jr.'s and Walmart. You're right. Many of us see the same thing. I think the difference in what you see and what you're doing, and what others see and what they're doing, is the application.
Hmm.
A lot of people see a lot of things, but it's what you're doing with it. And I think you kind of made that statement earlier in a different form. Okay, you can have all these tools and all these talents, but what will you do with it?
Hmm. Yeah,
Now,
exactly.
listen, go. I got to ask this off the wall question. Why were you drawn to funeral service?
Well,
Most people aren't, but why were you drawn to it?
we came up in the same church. Well, you came up there a little longer and earlier than me, but it was a church that had a decent size, and we have a church that has a decent size, full of old people. They're gonna die. So I went to a whole bunch of funerals, and it just looked so cool to me seeing a casket be closed. And another guy that I refer to in my book, like all my little heroes, they get their shout out. Andy, which Antoine Case, funeral director. He took me under his wing when I worked in high school. I just thought he was a cool cat, man. He was smooth, cool. And it was like something I aspired to be like. I just thought he was the most personable, professional funeral director. So when it came time to get a job, because I needed employment in order to leave school early my junior year, because I refused, I was like, I worked too hard and got too many credits to stay here the whole day. Let me get out of here. So my junior year, it was the only way out was to get a job. I applied to everything but fast food. I said I refuse. I can't do that. But bookstores, heaven and earth, the Christian folk wouldn't even take me. I went to Rite Aid, put in application, grocery stores. Nobody would hire me. But I knew I wanted to work at the funeral home. So I went up to Riddick Funeral Service and I asked about, oh, yeah, well, we don't really have no opportunity. But my mom had like an inside track. Moms always know best. She put a call in to a good friend of hers, which was a good friend of the owners. Next thing you know, I had a job. So he just gave me such responsibility once he saw that I was capable. And I think that's really what it comes down to. A funeral service is not the morbid stuff. Some people like just want to work on bodies. Like, I don't mind that. But to me, it is the responsibility of standing in the gap for a family that needs somebody in that moment, you know? And I just enjoyed the opportunity. I remember the first time he let me pull the hearse up from here to there just to see if I could drive the hearse. Then, I don't trust you with the family. If you crash the hearse, ain't nothing gonna happen to them. So, little levity. And they really treated me like the little adopted brother, all of them. I'd go to work, have a black suit on and white tube socks. Then they send me across the street to Family Dollar. Go get you some socks. So I just really grew up at the funeral home, and I had the opportunity to work full time at another funeral home, and he baptizes by fire. But when you leave there, you're gonna know how to run a funeral home. And consequently, after that, I ended up managing a funeral home, two of them, two different funeral homes. So it's just the responsibility. And as that guy would say, less than 2% of people in our population of all licensees in the healthcare industry, got what we got. And you have to know how to find vessels. You go to the hospital, they got to get the ultrasound. You got to know where it is. Like, you have to know your stuff. And I think the thing I love the most about funeral services, you get one opportunity. You need to do whatever you need to do, touch it one time, and it needs to be right. Because the moment something is not, and you got to go back, that's your reputation. So for me, funeral service really helps me understand the importance of excellence, uh, compassion, humor, believe it or not. Like, I have not met too many funeral people that don't have a great sense of humor. You have to have something to balance some of the things that you see. But above all, it's just excellence and making sure that you're giving your best because you want to make sure that family is getting the good service that they need and you're honoring the deceased as well with dignity. So yeah.
I want to begin to wrap our conversation on this point.
Hmm.
I've been preaching for quite a while. Been preaching as a licensed preacher since 2003. I was doing a little bootlegging before then, uh, and I've come across many, many preachers. I mean this from the bottom of my heart when I say you're one of my favorite. But I know that you are a student of preachers and preaching. I want to know a couple of things.
Hmm.
Number one, who are few of your favorite preachers and why? And I want to get some inside behind the scenes details of how you approach your very own preaching.
First and foremost, my daddy, my father, he's always gonna be number one. That's man, today, oh my God. Woo! He did his thing today. I ain't gonna lie.
Oh, I know. I already seen the clips.
Man, like, because I'm familiar with the text, but how he just like there's some sermons that he's preached, which you probably agree, like, title, and like that one today was that. But as far as other inspirations outside of him, I would say the greatest beyond my father would be Bishop Gilbert Earl Patterson. I would watch his videos, binge watch them, and remember them and regurgitate them. And even the other day, my father and I, we hung out on Father's Day, and we were at the trains, the tide, like it's like the light rail, waiting for the train. And he was going through his phone and he came across the Gilbert Earl Patterson video. I quoted it from beginning to end from the clip. That's how much I watched. I studied Bishop Patterson. I also watched a lot of Bishop Barnett Carl Thurgood, just going to New Jerusalem and watching the videos and going to the evening services. Anytime I could sneak off, I just wanted to see how church was done in other places. But when I was married, I'm divorced now, unfortunately. I lived in Rochester, New York, and that gave me an opportunity to see church in a very different way because being, the PK, son of the preacher, the musician, like church is not the same for me as it is for most parishioners. It's work. I don't complain about it, it just is what it is. I've never just sat down and just said, man, let me worship. That's never been my play. Even when it was at New Hope, I was playing bongos. Like it was never somewhere to just go and sit. If you're going to show up, you're going to do. Even right now, I'm in church. If there's a vacuum that needs running or a toilet needs scrubbing, you just do. But being in Rochester, it gave me an opportunity to just be a parishioner. And I got to go to a Ukrainian Catholic church. And then I was like uh, a frequent visitor at what do you call it? Episcopal church. And it was such beautiful music. That's when I said, I don't want to go to the Kojic side of heaven. Y'all jump too much. I need to go to the Episcopal side of heaven where they got pipe organs and cellos and stuff like that. But on a serious note, I just got to see so much. And even in my travels, I like going to visit churches all over the world, seeing the architecture, seeing the art. But the thing that inspires me the most is just the word. Um, this year I was a little busy, but at the church I lead like a small group where we go through the Bible in 90 days. So we've gone through the Bible as a church, cover to cover, so many times you're familiar with the story, but then the deeper you dive, there's so much more to pull out. One of my favorite books is Genesis because there's so much there that I don't know. So I really just try to stay true to what's written, but I also want to stay true to what's written as much as I'm able from the context of when and by whom it was written, because we approach a lot of it with a Western mindset and our modern ideologies and thoughts and feelings. And we are really blaspheming God when we say God said this and that, and he really didn't. So I just really just let the word speak. And I just have a more open mind now. Um, I'm not so quick to condemn. I'm not so quick to tell somebody what they can't do, what they aren't doing, who they are. I just want them to know him, and it's just my job to make him known. So I've evolved a lot in my journey. I don't really watch too many preachers now, and it's not that I don't want the word. Just don't necessarily want to be shaped by too much. If I watch now, it's like for enjoyment. Like I enjoy Geno Jennings. Like I like, or and there's some people that have some good things to say, but I'd rather just read, or I'd rather have discourse. I'd rather talk with preachers. And one of my favorites, uh, he's actually one of the ones that's encouraged me to like, Tim, you can do the book. You need to do YouTube. GC Lewis, Gerald C. Lewis. We would talk for hours every single day just about Bible, like digging deep, like things that you never think were there and they're there. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. I just, that comes back to me being a conscientious objector. Like, I don't accept just, oh, that's what you said the Bible says. Well, let me see for myself. So that's been my approach. And I just want to make sure that people are getting something quality and not just something thrown together.
I love it. And last but not least, you have become a world traveler.
Yeah.
I would say, especially over maybe the last 5 or 6 years, I have lived vicariously through you. And let me tell you, I have seen a lot of this world.
You see
But
more
man,
of this world.
I don't know now. I look at some of your pictures, I'm like, oh my, look
Yeah.
at where's he now? What has
Yeah.
inspired you to see the world as you see it?
Well, I think growing up Pentecostal, you're told so much of what you can't do. And that's not so much how it is now, because a whole lot of folk telling you what you couldn't do was doing it anyway. That's another story for another day. But it was so limiting, and people look down on things, and I'm just like, conscientious objector. I think that's stupid. There's so much more to the world outside of where you stand, and it gives you a greater appreciation for where you are, but also gives you a greater appreciation for other places. I just enjoy the architecture. I enjoy the culture. Like I am, I am destined for South America or Latin America some kind of way. I just enjoy the culture, like dance every day. I'm taking Spanish lessons. My tutor, she's in the Dominican Republic, and it's way early in the morning. Wake up! I'm saying it's early in the morning. It no matter. It no matter. But I I just enjoy people, and you'll see everywhere you go, people are people. They've done great things. They've built great things. They've cooked great things, but they're still people. And when you can appreciate somebody and their uh, somebodyness, as Martin Luther King would say, seeing everybody as somebody, it just makes you a better human. And that's why I'm like not on the rampage of tearing people down, saying what they can and can't do, because there, there's better things out there to do than to tell somebody what they can and can't be. Um, but I've gone into mosques, I've gone into uh, Shinto shrines, Buddhists, Taoism. Like I've been in some of everywhere, and I can find inspiration in it all. That's not to say that it changes my core beliefs, but it broadens my understanding because some of these other faiths and religions, they're just some nice people. And for the ones that claim the religion I claim, some of them aren't so nice. So you have that. So it's just traveling the world, you just get to see the wonder of God's creation, not just with landscapes, mountains, and waterfalls and rivers, but people. People. They do some phenomenal things.
I agree 100%. Well, listen, we're going to be wrapping here, but I want to give you a moment. Maybe there's something that we didn't cover that you had on your mind, or something that you just want to say to the audience. And I want to give you that time and take time and say whatever you want. Maybe, like I said, something that we didn't cover ourselves.
Well, that you told me, because Carl was very honest. He was a very present big brother figure in my teenage and early 20s. And even now, I can pick up the phone and call him, and he's going to answer. And I appreciate that. But one thing that he said that has been real encouragement to me lately, he said, Tim, you know, that, well, he really calls me bruh or something like that. But the point is, bro, there are little propeller planes and they can just take off. They don't need a lot of runway. They just take off. Then you have like private jets. They may need a little more runway, but they can just take off. Even jetliners, the ones you go to the airport, they can take off. But he was like, when it comes to you, you are like a C5 Galaxy. And Carl's ex-military. And that's like this big plane that holds a large payload of cargo, and it needs like almost 2 miles of runway, and it needs a whole lot of fuel because it's carrying a whole lot more. So I'm just encouraging you, using his words, not mine. Don't feel like you're going the long route. You're going your route. and there's something in you that you're carrying that is heavy, that is worth it, that is of value. And you can't compare your runway to somebody else's where they could just take off and go, because where you're going, they're not going. But the longer the runway, the more fuel, the heavier the payload you can carry, the higher you can go, the further you can go. So don't worry if you are 22, 32, 42, 82. There is still something in you that needs to get out. There's still something in you that will be a blessing to somebody else. And it doesn't have to be great in your eyes, it'll be great in the eyes of other people. So if you're holding on to something, release it and let it go and let it come back to you like bread on the water.
I appreciate that. This has been a tremendous conversation, just like I thought. I am appreciative of you saying yes. And to be honest with you, I want to come back after your book is released. When is the official release date?
When I record these videos, I'm sitting here looking at this teleprompter trying to figure out how to make it work right now. So when I figure that out, it won't be long. But my hope is by the end of July.
Okay. Have you already scheduled some live places where you're going to show up and do book signings?
No, because I really didn't want to turn into the insurance salesman. Oh Lord, here he come. Like,
Well, you may be modest, but there's some people like me who want to help you because I believe that what you're saying is valuable. It's valuable,
I appreciate
and
that.
and your work does cost. And so, plus, I want my free autograph copy. So, but I realize I got to work for it. So, what I want to do is, I want to schedule you to come back, and we'll talk about it after the book is officially released. And I want to work with you to see where we can find you, because I'm pretty sure that we're going to work to get you some book signings. We're going to
All
do
right.
that. All right.
Sounds good.
All right, cool. All right, audience, you heard it. Late July, and I'm gonna get him to give us a date, because it's gonna be all over the Carl's Conversation social media platform, and I'm sure it's gonna be all over the. Now, where can they find you on social media?
Facebook, YouTube, X, and Instagram at the TWJ. So the
All
at
right, y'all
sign,
heard it.
the TWJ.
At the TWJ.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all everywhere social media at the TWJ. So I'm sure when he has a release date, that's going to be shared at the TWJ on social media.
For
And
sure.
as soon as he lets me know, I'm going to share it everywhere at Carl's Conversations on social media. And then we're going to have him back. And then we're going to see if we can get him up here in Northern Virginia, see if we can schedule something before school opens again to do a book signing. All right. So y'all
Sounds
bring
good.
your now listen, how do you get your money? You do it by Cash App, Givelify, PayPal. How you do that?
Mm. What do you mean get my money?
They got to pay
Like
for the
for the
book.
book? Oh, it's
Yeah.
gonna be on Amazon.
You're gonna bring
So,
something with you,
oh, when I have, I don't know. I'll cross that bridge when I get there. I haven't figured that out yet.
bro. I'm
I
not gonna
mean,
sell no book signing. You don't have no books.
but I would have to buy the books in advance. That's what I'm saying. I would have to think through
Bam,
that piece.
bam.
I'll get with you.
Well, let me know. I'll buy 'em.
That's
Boy,
rich people
see,
problems, y'all.
this the big brother talking to the little brother.
Yeah, I'll get on it. I'll get
Okay,
on
wonderful. Thank you. All right, y'all. God bless you. This has been Carl's Conversations, latest edition of the Black Excellence Showcase with Elder Tmothy A. Wright Jr. I have enjoyed. God bless you, brother, and thank you once again for saying yes. We'll see him again soon, and we're going to try to get him up here for a book signing of that Naomi project. Until next time, God bless you all. Bye-bye for now.
Good night.